Where's my mute? Mute. Okay, I think we're going. Hi, everybody. It is Bryan here with you from Paula's Choice Skincare, coming at you from my home office in Michigan. It is March 29th. We're here for another live chat. I'm here for the next hour or so, give or take. So let's talk skincare. Let's talk makeup. Let's talk whatever's on your mind related to beauty. I will do my best to answer as many questions as possible. Okay. Hi, everybody. It is Bryan. Hi, everybody. So I'm hearing myself, though. So there we go. All right. I thought I muted myself, and I did not. There are a ton of questions already, you guys. Let me know if for some reason you can't hear me. This is a bit low-tech over here, but you know what? I kind of like that. I think it makes it a bit more authentic. I mean, you know, this is me at home. This is me with my fresh brewed Pete's coffee. Little secret, as long as I lived in Seattle, I never really got into Starbucks coffee. Practically blasphemy to say, and it's not that Starbucks does not have any coffee drinks or beverages that I don't like. That's not the case, but when it comes to what coffee I purchase for home consumption, it ain't Starbucks. But they are doing just fine without my support. So, all right. Wow. Sure. Okay, so no one's saying they can't hear me, so that's good. So let's just dive right in. The Chrissy to be lovely, who I think is with us just about every week, which is awesome. What's the best way to remove sunscreen and makeup and best product to use? What's the best way to remove sunscreen and makeup and best product to use? There isn't necessarily a best way per se. There's lots of different cleansers you can use. I will say, if you have heard of double cleansing and that concept, I'm a big fan of that if you wear a mineral-based titanium dioxide or zinc oxide-based sunscreen, and then you put a full face of makeup on over that. The double cleanse process, using a cleansing oil to get that first layer off, and then using a regular cleanser, a water-soluble cleanser to remove everything else, I think can do a very thorough job, and you can accomplish that without over drying your skin, which of course is never the goal. Just as a quick corollary, let me just take a couple more from Chrissy, and then we'll move on to some other people. Chrissy says she's also read that you should only use hydroquinone for not more than 3 months. Is there a risk in using it longer? I have read that too, and there's some kind of misinformation about it, because it isn't really. It's not that it's risky to use it longer than that. If you're using over-the-counter 2% or 1% hydroquinone, we're talking about an ingredient that has over 50 years of safe usage, as with anything else when used as directed. There's the potential to overuse or to abuse pretty much anything, which is why there's certain dosages and usage instructions for ingredients like hydroquinone, and for medications like aspirin, and even for how many calories you should eat each day, and sodium and fat, and on and on and on. Having said that, I think the crux of the rationale behind stopping use of hydroquinone after 3 months is really about where are you with results. And it's generally considered true that if you have been using hydroquinone daily, once or twice daily, for 3 months, 12 weeks, and you haven't seen much, if any, visible improvement in your discolorations, that is a good sign that the hydroquinone just isn't working for you. Now, I think what a lot of people tend to miss, and I certainly would if I didn't know better, is that if you are not being good about protecting your skin from UV light exposure every day, then a hydroquinone product, no matter what it contains or how strong it is, either won't work well at all, or if it does work, it's just not going to get you to where you want to be because you aren't doing anything to stop what's triggering those discolorations to form and to stick around. The hydroquinone will do a little bit, but then it's sort of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And then last, Christy was asking about Beautypedia doing reviews again on YouTube. I'm not really all that involved with Beautypedia anymore myself, but if I'm not quite sure what's going to happen in that regard. For right now, I haven't heard anything about Beautypedia videos resuming, but the Beautypedia website is being maintained. There's still a team writing reviews. There's still a team looking at the new products, kind of figuring out which ones to focus on. So that's about the extent of it, though, for right now. Okay, let's see here. Mary says, how early should one start using a retinol? Are there any downsides? There isn't a particular age, Mary, where you should start using a retinol or you shouldn't be using a retinol. Retinol is the name for the entire vitamin A molecule, as you may have heard Paula say before. It is an ingredient that can benefit skin at any age. Do I think my 3-year-old son needs retinol? Not really, because it's one of those ingredients that is most useful when your skin gets to the point where you can benefit from it. For example, if you are a teenager and you are dealing with blemishes and acne for the first time, one of the mainstays, prescription-wise, of topical acne treatments are the retinoids. Retin-A would be a brand name, Renova, Tazorac, Differin, all of those are retinoids, and then retinol is the over-the-counter cosmetic version of that. So teenagers can start using a retinol product, see what it does for them, or you can talk to your dermatologist, depending on the severity of your acne, about using a topical prescription retinoid. And if you are seeing first signs of aging, if you're dealing with sun damage seeing the fine lines start popping up or uneven skin tone, larger pores, texture issue, retinol is such a multi-benefit cosmetic ingredient to use that there's almost, in the world of anti-aging and skin improvement, there's very few things retinol can't do. Now, of course, that doesn't mean it does everything, but there really isn't a downside to starting too soon. In terms of a downside to using retinol, some people, emphasis on some, may find that their skin is sensitive to retinol when it's used in what would be considered an efficacious amount, and there's quite a range for that. It starts at around 0.1, maybe even like a 0.03%, and goes all the way up to 2 or 3% retinol, depending on the product you're looking at and the total combination of retinols in the product. If you are brand new to retinol, I wouldn't say, yeah, jump in and try a 2% strength, because you really want to see how your skin responds to a lower strength of retinol. And then if it acclimates well, and for most people it will, you can experiment with other types of retinol. There's different types. You can also experiment with different textures and, of course, different strengths. I alternate between them. The 2 retinol products that I use from Paula's Choice the most are our 1% retinol booster, which is kind of a thin gel-like texture. I use that, I think I'm pretty much on track for about 2 or 3 nights a week. I find it just does wonderful things for my skin texture, clarity, pore size. I'm 44 years old. I'm not waking up and seeing any new wrinkles. That's great. I do wear sunscreen every day, as most of you know. The other retinol product of ours that I use on the regular is our Resist Intensive Wrinkle Repair Retinol Serum. That one, I love how it feels. I think that's just one of our most amazing feeling serums, and I kind of slather it on before bed. So it definitely makes me look greasy because of the texture of it, but I'm going to bed, I don't care. My husband doesn't care. And I wake up in the morning with baby butt smooth skin. It's amazing. So, yeah. A little bit long-winded there, Mary, but there's your answer. Haley says, I've been using the 2% BHA gel 1 or 2 times a week. I love it, but I really have stubborn blackheads. Will using it daily cause my barrier to be compromised? That's an interesting question. No. We are not using barrier disrupting ingredients in our BHA exfoliant. Now, salicylic acid or glycolic acid, when they're formulated in a lower pH, the pH they need to exfoliate skin, there is some amount of barrier disruption that happens simply by virtue of how those ingredients work. However, when you're using them in a product that contains additional hydrating, soothing, and replenishing ingredients, and even better, if the other products in your routine are also giving your skin those ingredients, it pretty much becomes a non-issue. The trade-off of that minor barrier disruption in order to get those ingredients further into skin, in order to get them to break down that thick layer of dull, dead skin cells that you don't want around, we often liken it to, although it's not quite as extreme, we often liken it to having a callus on your foot. And you know what? When you are sitting there enjoying a pedicure, you're not going to turn to the person doing your pedicure and say, no, just leave that rough, gross-looking skin on my heel. I kind of like it there. No, you want them to get that off, and that is a similar concept to what you want to happen to the dead, sun-damaged skin in the uppermost layers. You want that to slough off. You want to see the smooth, renewed skin beneath. Your skin isn't doing that work the way it did when we were younger, which is why exfoliants become necessary for so many people, because they can pick up where and take over what something that skin used to do before it became sun damaged or compromised in some other way, excess oil, on and on and on. I think I answered that question. If you are, Haley, if you're not seeing the level of blackhead diminishment that you're hoping for, I would highly recommend trying our Resist Advanced Pore Refining Treatment, which will give you 4% BHA. Wonderful formula, great new texture. I think the foaming version is still available, but a lot of people didn't like that or just didn't get on board with it, and so we came up with more of like a serum-like texture that, and I'm a fan of the foam. I'm a fan of the foam, but I think the serum texture is much more versatile for a lot of people. Alex says, we'd love your review of Teague or Teague Hanley on Beautypedia. Not that I'm aware of. I'm not even sure I know what that brand is about, but I can certainly pass on the request to the Beautypedia team. Nicole Jane says, hi, Bryan. I always look forward to your live chats. Thank you. My boyfriend has a beard. What's the best technique? I'm a little like, burpy. What's the best technique to apply products? Sunscreen is difficult. Yes, it is. Could a beard provide adequate protection? I haven't seen research. It's probably out there, but I haven't seen research showing that facial hair provides sun protection. But I suspect, and this is just from what we see happen with people in the world, I suspect that it does, because even somebody like me who is fair-skinned, I'm a burn in the sun and then tan type person. I will sometimes get a sunburn if I'm not careful where I part my hair, but the rest of my scalp, where I have a decent amount of hair still, yay, the rest of my scalp does not get any sort of noticeable color change, anything like that, even if I'm not wearing a hat. So I suspect that if your boyfriend's beard is full and dense enough, meaning that when you look at it, you're not clearly seeing skin underneath it. If his beard is patchy, or if he keeps it thin, kind of like, if he's walking around with what looks like a beard, but it's really kind of more stubble, he needs sunscreen on there. And what I would suggest he apply, given that lotions and creams can tend to get caught in the whiskers and look very obvious, he can try any of the aerosol or non-aerosol sunscreen sprays. Yes, even the ones that may be alcohol-based, because even though that can be a drying, irritating ingredient, if he is spraying it into his hand and then just kind of like flashing it on through his beard like this, I wouldn't be too concerned about that impacting the skin in a negative way. I would be more concerned about him going without any sun protection on his beard, particularly if you guys live in a sunnier climate, and or if he spends a good deal of time outdoors. Okay, where did we leave off? Caffeinated says, hey Bryan, can I use niacinamide the same nights that I use retinol? Yes. Are there some products you shouldn't combine? Thank you, Jennifer. Um, Whenever you see information about not combining certain ingredients because they supposedly deactivate each other or inactivate this or keep this from happening, always take that with a good degree of skepticism. In almost every instance that I can think of, the research that examined that either looked at what happens when you combine 100% concentrations of ingredients, just the straight up ingredient, and then what kind of chemical reaction do you get, and then they presume from whatever reaction occurs, and it's almost always something undesirable, that the exact same thing is going to happen when those ingredients are used in lower amounts in a cosmetic product where you have cosmetic chemists who are aware of certain ingredient interactions and can take formulary steps to avoid and, or at the very least, minimize those reactions. So both of those ingredients are skin restoring ingredients. They do different things for skin. They're both incredibly beneficial and can be beneficial for all skin types. There's certain concerns that you could say that they're more targeted toward, but even if you don't have concerns about large pores or uneven skin tone, niacinamide can benefit your skin surface in numerous ways simply by virtue of the fact that it can stimulate your skin to make its own ceramides, which are a key ingredient in what's called its intercellular matrix, which is a big part of what keeps skin smooth, intact, healthy, young, glowing, supple, able to resist moisture loss. The list goes on. Okay, so no one's shouting that they can't hear me. That would really be embarrassing if I've been prattling on all this time and you guys are like, what? You're on mute. Paula says, what is the single most efficient anti-aging ingredient after sunscreen and retinol? Vitamin C. In terms of the sheer volume of research showing what it can do for skin, different skin concerns, conditions, there isn't necessarily a single best form of vitamin C. You could start with L-ascorbic acid or pure ascorbic acid. They're interchangeable. There's fat-soluble derivatives of vitamin C. There's different newer water-soluble derivatives of vitamin C. A lot of companies, including Paula's Choice, Drunk Elephant is another one, they have taken to combining multiple forms of vitamin C in one product. Kiehl's does that as well, to a certain degree. And that is an interesting approach because it gives your skin the best of all of them, because depending on the form of vitamin C, there's different modes of action. There's different ways that they have more of an affinity for skin. Again, the water-soluble, oil-soluble aspect is kind of an interesting angle. So that would be my pick. Don't take that to mean that there are no other great anti-aging ingredients. That would be a lie. There's tons of them. We're discovering new ones all the time. But if you're wondering what to use in terms of what has, next to retinol, what has the most science behind it, vitamin C would top my list. I think Paula would say niacinamide. There's a lot of research about niacinamide in skin as well. I think volume-wise, there's more for vitamin C. But I think what that comes down to is a bit of splitting hairs, because personally, I'm more of a vitamin C fan, and Paula is a niacinamide gal through and through. She loves that. I was going to say drinks that stuff, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It is something your body needs. Okay, I think I skipped somebody. Yeah. Oh, why Paula's Choice products are so small? 60 milligrams or milliliters of sunscreen is not enough. Okay, I'll give you that. I mean, that you could say that 2 ounces of sunscreen isn't enough. I would argue that for facial and neck use, that is an above average size, given that most facial moisturizers with sunscreen are an ounce to maybe an ounce and a half, maybe 1.7 ounces. So we're a little bit ahead of the curve there. Honestly, one of the other reasons is that compared to a lot of body sunscreens where you get 4 to 8 ounces on average, let's say, you're getting the same protection in terms of if it's an SPF 30, it's an SPF 30. It doesn't matter where you're supposed to apply it because of the regulations around SPF ratings and how that is determined. The facial moisturizers with sunscreen, when they are well formulated, are expensive products to make. If you are using an efficacious amount of antioxidants, if you are using ingredients like certain peptides, if you are using texture enhancing ingredients, if you are using different technologies behind the sunscreen actives to improve their aesthetics or to enhance their spreadability on the skin, all of that is more costly, and it's benefits that aren't necessarily as easy to discern, or even benefits that a lot of consumers care as much about when it comes to sunscreens for the body. That's really more about just getting something on the skin so you don't get burned when you're playing outside or at the beach, whereas the facial sunscreen is more of that utilitarian product that you literally are wearing every day, and you want it to do more for your face and for your neck or for your eye area than just protect from sun damage. So that's the approach we take. There are certainly inexpensive facial sunscreens out there, and I know we've reviewed over the years several of them. The CeraVe brand comes to mind. You know, it used to be, Olay still has some that I would consider inexpensive, like 10, 11 bucks. They're rather basic formulas, but you know, they feel lightweight and they give you sun protection. Okay, let's see. Jessica Rodriguez says, hi, Bryan. I'd like to know if it's okay to use 2% BHA with over-the-counter different. Yes, it should be. I'll give you the standard proviso in that if you opt to do that, you can put the exfoliant on first. We kind of state that it paves the way for your retinoid to work even better. If you notice, though, after a few nights of doing that, you're seeing any signs of sensitivity, redness, flaking, your skin may feel a little warm to the touch, almost like it's a bit sunburned but not red. If any of that develops, I would suggest separating use. I'm not blaming either product. It's most likely the combination on your skin that is doing it, and the simple solution is to separate their application so you can still get the benefit of both. That may take some experimenting, meaning that it may not be as simple as putting your BHA on in the morning and different gel at night. You may need to alternate days, where Monday is the BHA at night, Tuesday is different, Wednesday nothing, Thursday you're back on the BHA once per day, Friday is different. I mean, you're going to have to kind of work that out and see what cadence, frequency of application gives you the results you want on bumps and acne and other issues, without any of the drawbacks. And you may not have any problems whatsoever, so don't let this discourage you from trying it. Just bear in mind that you may need to do some experimenting. Danny says, hi, Bryan. I wish you would talk a bit about scalp care. I know it's best to use fragrance-free shampoos, but I can't get myself to do it. I don't feel fresh after. LOL, it's really that important. I use a fragrance shampoo. I have a couple from Aveda that I really like, and I won't give them up because of the smell. So I'm right there with you, Danny. I will say that is kind of where I make the exception because of the fact that shampoos are rinse out, and I always make sure to rinse thoroughly. I do use a conditioner occasionally. With my hair being short and the styling products I use, conditioner is kind of for me. I don't notice a huge difference. But when I grow my hair longer, I absolutely need it to get a comb through. And I'm not too picky about that as far as conditioners go. But I like ours. The Smooth Finish conditioner from Paula's Choice is great. And it's 100% fragrance-free. And I like the Scalp Benefits conditioner from Aveda because it works really well and it doesn't have a strong fragrance. The ingredients in conditioners cling to hair much more so than ingredients in shampoos, so it's trickier to get that fragrance residue off of your scalp when you are rinsing. Andreas asks, is going outside into big polluted city with only your sunscreen safe, or should you wear makeup for protection? Well, first of all, makeup isn't an invisible or visible shield on skin. It's not makeup. Just because you have a layer of makeup on doesn't mean that your skin is immune to damage from airborne particulates. A lot of those particulates are incredibly small and can get right through no matter what you have on the surface of your skin. So you need, our approach to that is to apply products that contain different types of antioxidants because, first of all, there's no single best antioxidant. And second of all, one of the reasons there isn't a single best antioxidant is because there are different oxidizing substances, particulates in our world, and certain antioxidants are better at neutralizing one type than another, much the same way certain foods have different nutritional profiles. Red peppers are good for you, spinach is good for you, salmon is good for you, but they all have very different nutritional profiles, and eating all three of them is going to benefit your body and your health much more so than if you said, nope, I'm just doing salmon. That's it, nothing but salmon. I got a little off track there. Oh, so the other issue with using makeup for protection in terms of anti-pollution protection is that most makeup doesn't contain the kind of ingredients that help skin defend itself from the visible effects of pollution. So there's that. There are some foundations that contain antioxidants and those types of pollution-fighting ingredients, but they're kind of few and far between, and you certainly would have to read the labels. I would say make sure that your sun protection product contains additional antioxidants. All of them from Paula's Choice do, so that's baked in. And as an extra measure, I would put on a thin, lightweight, or whatever you feel is appropriate for your skin type. If you have dry skin, you might want a richer serum or even a facial oil. Put on a thin layer of that prior to your sunscreen, and then do your makeup as usual. You know, if you normally wear makeup during the day, keep on keeping on. But just know that it isn't giving you, a pollution defense per se. It's the antioxidants and the other skin beneficial ingredients in those skincare products that are, and the sunscreen as well, that are putting you in a better position to brave the city streets. Mandy says, hi, what products and ingredients would be best to stay away from when pregnant? Are Paula's Choice products safe to use in pregnancy? Generally speaking, this is something to discuss with your doctor. I have thoughts on it. I wanted to check. Let me pop over to our site real quick and see. I thought we had. Ugh, this is getting all kinds of wonky. Do you guys ever have issues on Paula's Choice site using the Safari browser? Because I run a Mac here at home. I almost always have to switch over to Chrome, and it works fine. So we have an article, let me put it, skincare during pregnancy, that answers those questions. So Mandy, check this article out. Ooh. Okay, did that show? Okay, Mandy, it's at the bottom. If you scroll down, I got a little premature and hit the response before I pasted in the link. But take a look at that article. That will answer your questions. Okay. And by the way, if you are pregnant, congratulations. If you're trying to get pregnant, good luck. Okay. Alex says, Hola! I'd like to know whether those mineral powder sunscreens are good enough to protect from sun, and if PC will launch one soon. Mineral powder sun... Oh! Got it. Okay. They are if you apply them liberally, meaning a pretty thick, opaque layer of powder, probably more than what you would want to have on your face because it just isn't too attractive. So for that reason, because that's how they're tested. When those powders go through for SPF testing, they really cover the skin with it, and then, they go through and they do it on human skin. But the amount of, I think you could ask almost anybody in that situation who goes through that testing if that's how much powder they would feel comfortable wearing out in public to work or whatever, and they would say, no. Which is why we recommend using loose or pressed mineral powders with sunscreen as an adjunct to your facial moisturizer or other sun protective products. So they're a great way to touch up your existing sun protection. I wouldn't rely on them as my sole source of sun protection unless my UV light exposure for the day was going to be really incidental. Cloudy day, I'm not going to be sitting in front of a window. I might go outside to check the mail, but that's it. Okay, dust on some powder and you'll probably be at like an SPF of 10. Not great, but not terrible. But given what your day is looking like, you should be fine. Maya says fragrance in skin is bad in skincare. Very true. But what about spraying perfume on your neck and wrists? That's bad too. It isn't great, particularly given that most fragrances have an alcohol base, and they contain those same volatile type of fragrance ingredients, both natural and synthetic, depending on the fragrance, that skincare does. So the solution, I mean, if you absolutely have to have some fragrance on your skin, it's a trade-off, because I can't change the fact that it's irritating your skin. So I wish I could. Just like, years ago I used to smoke. Sometimes I still wish I could have a cigarette and just have one and think that it really wouldn't be doing any damage, but I know that's not the case, and I don't need to smoke again to know that's the case. The research is there for me to say, oh, yeah, well, yeah, that would not be good. So the trade-off is to come up with a couple of pulse points where you can put the fragrance. Here, maybe behind your knee, wherever you find it works best. I think I read once from a perfumer that fragrance tends to rise. So they weren't advocates of putting fragrance here because this is pretty close to the top of your body. And so there it goes. Whereas if you put fragrance on your ankles or behind your knees, it has more time to work its way up, and then you are emanating an aura of Chanel No. 5 or whatever it is that you like to wear. It's a trade-off though. But so my suggestion is to dab on the skin in smaller areas versus, like your entire torso or something. The other option is to spray your hair. If you have long hair, is a great carrier of scent. Anyone who's really around my age or older and remembers what it was like to spend time in smoky bars when you weren't a smoker, and you would come home and not only would your clothes reek, but your hair would smell awful as well, and you were probably showering before bed just to get all that smell off. Hair is a very good carrier of scent, and hair is dead. You can't irritate your hair with fragrance, particularly women who have longer hair. You could just kind of spritz and style your hair as usual, and your hair will carry that scent. So that's a great compromise without actually getting any fragrance on your skin. And then, of course, you could also spray articles of clothing that you intend to wear. A scarf, I was going to say a blouse. Just so no one gets mad at me for this tip, never spray perfume on delicate fabrics. Don't take your favorite silk blouse and douse it with perfume. You will get spotting and staining on it, and you will come back and say, Brian, pay for my dry cleaning. So I'm telling you now, don't do it. But stuff like cotton, that's fine. Don't worry about that. Okay, we're about at the halfway point, and the hits just keep coming. Coco and Blackie says, hey Brian, question about your 2% BHA. In the UK, you don't sell the stronger version, which is true. If I applied it twice, would that be a stronger version or just a waste of product? It's not additive, so it wouldn't give you a stronger. It would be a waste of product. Yeah, it's interesting to think of because you could relate it to food and think, well, if I ate one chocolate chip cookie, is that 100 calories? And then I take a bite of another one because I'm still kind of wanting a cookie. Does that add more calories? It does. But it just doesn't double up that way with the skincare ingredients. So you would need, you can order the 4% version from the States and we'll ship it to you. I'm sorry it's not available there. There's different regulations. I wish I could change that, but I can't. So, if you have friends in the state who are coming to visit you, have them bring some of it with them. We have other products that we are unable to sell in the European market that we can sell in the States and Canada and Australia. So there you go. And there's a couple of products that we're selling in EU that we can't sell over here. Ah, my favorite MVeg Potato says, "Hey Bryan, love these live chats so much. Is it a bad idea to use different retin-A for acne if even a little bit makes your skin flaky and red?" I mean, I would say, I just thought off the cuff, yeah, I would say why put your skin through that when there are other ingredients that you can consider that could possibly give you equivalent results. For example, for acne, you can talk to your doctor about using prescription azelaic acid. That might prove to be really beneficial for you. Azelaic acid is available over the counter as well in lower strengths. Prescription, it's around 15 to 20%. I'm not just off the top of my head. I was trying to think I don't know that there's an OTC cap on azelaic acid, but there probably is. But I've seen skincare versions that are around 10%, so that may be the topper. Michelle says, "Yep, I use Tazerac, very beneficial." Yeah, MVeg, if it was me and every time I used those products I got red flaky skin, that trait to me, it's like you're trading one visible problem, that being acne, for another, which is red, raw, flaky skin. And at least acne is the more comfortable of the two. Your skin's not dehydrated and tight and oozy. Okay. Joseph. Mr. Joseph. Hi, Bryan. Can I layer benzoyl peroxide with products containing antioxidants or acids? Antioxidants, I would wait for the benzoyl peroxide to absorb. Just kind of wait until your skin feels dry, simply because of how that works and how antioxidant works. It is possible. In fact, I would argue that it's probable that the antioxidants in a skincare product that you apply immediately after a benzoyl peroxide product would render that benzoyl peroxide product either significantly less effective or completely ineffective. Benzoyl peroxide is a rather, it's volatile, I guess is a good word. It's unstable in certain conditions. You have to formulate it carefully, but in terms of stability, it's definitely more stable than its cousin, hydrogen peroxide. And then for acids, antioxidants and acids play well together for the most part. There are certain antioxidants that are more naturally acidic, and so they're more besties with acids. There are antioxidants that are acids, ascorbic acid, pantothenic acid, which is a B vitamin, and then there are antioxidants that are, I don't want to say alkaline, but they're not necessarily acidic either. But I haven't seen any research showing that, for example, green tea and alpha hydroxy acid, never the two shall meet. That's not the case. Dico Angelica says, "Hello. Do we really need one product for neck and another product for eyes or face?" No. Some articles say neck skin is different from eye skin, and so we need a special neck product. The neck skin is different from the skin around the eyes and from the skin on the rest of the face. That's true. There are physiologic differences there, but that does not inherently mean that here and here and here need completely different ingredients and there can be no overlap. The general rule is that the same ingredients that benefit skin on the face will benefit skin around the eyes and will benefit skin around the neck. The eye area can have a need for a higher concentration of hydrating ingredients, emollients. There are certain brightening ingredients. There are certain peptides that I've seen that are specifically designed to target age-related concerns around the eyes, but that even then, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't still have the same age-related concerns on the face. So it's really more about nuances. It's really more with the eye area about the eye area being generally drier than the rest of the face, because physiologically, you may have read this, it's true, we do not have oil glands through here like we do through here. There's far fewer of them around the eyes, and the skin is naturally thinner around the eyes as you get closer to what's known, or as you get closer to the literal eye itself. On the neck, the big thing with the neck is that the neck doesn't have the support structure of bone that the face does. Our faces, with the way that the skull is, there's a much greater support and scaffolding for the muscles, for the fat pads, for the skin, for everything to move together and hang where it should. And I'm using the word hang in a positive way, not sagging. On the neck, you pretty much have none of that. You've got some cartilage, you've got a little bit of bone, and then you've got muscle. And then you have the fact that the skin on the neck is thinner. There isn't as much fat on the neck, at least if you're within your normal weight range. There isn't as much fat on the neck as there is on the face. All of us have fat pads in different compartments throughout our face. There's 21 or 24, can't remember exactly which number, different fat pads on the face. And fun fact, they age at different rates and at different times for all of us, which is why some people, as they age, may get more of a heavier brow, like their lids get puffy and their brow starts to hang down, but then this part of their face is still nice and taut. And then other people get more of a jowling type thing where they get a little bit more of that waddle, and the lines here get more pronounced, and they start looking like, what's the name of that dog? Droopy Dog from the old like 1940s Tex Avery cartoons and whatnot. Those types of concerns are all the purview of cosmetic surgery, not skincare. Not that skincare doesn't do anything and that you should stop skincare, but you're not going to solve that type of underlying issue, because it's literally fat pads beneath the skin shifting out of place. They don't have the support, and you literally need to have a very skilled, highly trained surgeon put them back where they used to be, and then remove any excess that could lead to a look you don't want. I'm telling you, that type of cosmetic surgery is, talk about a fusion of art and science. It's just stunning what a good surgeon can do in that regard. Sonia asks, hi, what is the biggest difference between all three retinols? From my perspective, there's more than three. And are we talking OTC? Are we talking prescription as well? I can give you a quick overview answer in the sense that all of them, to one degree or another, are skin-restoring ingredients, prescription forms of retinoid. There are receptor sites on skin cells that those forms can hook up to and basically start telling or talking to the cells about how to make healthier cells. All of the retinoids influence how new skin cells are formed deeper in the skin, and to some degree they can influence how they move through to skin surface. Used in cosmetic form, all retinols will deliver some antioxidant benefit, will improve skin texture, skin tone, will have an effect on the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Christina says, which one is better to use to get rid of acne marks, not acne scar, and even skin tone, the brightening treatment or the AHA and hydroquinone treatment? Acne scar and even skin tone. So, Christina, if you were asking about what, like in dermatology, would be called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation or post-acne marks that can be like pink to red or tan to brown, what color they are depends on the natural color of your skin. Me being very fair and having not as much melanin in my skin, those marks on me are pink to red. If you are medium to tan skin tone, or pretty much any degree of skin tone of African American or Asian American or Native American heritage, your marks are going to be more in the tan to brown family, which means there's some melanin involved. In either case, though, over our brightening essence and over AHA and hydroquinone, I would opt for vitamin C. I think our Resist C15 Super Booster, which is a liquid with 15% vitamin C, would be great. Especially if you want something more for all over use, or if you have many of those spots, or if you are dealing with some other skin concerns that affect your entire face, as opposed to just a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there. If you are in the little bit here, a little bit there camp, and you just have a few spots you want to deal with, we make a vitamin C spot treatment that is kind of like a thick paste, but it's very silky, and that contains 25% vitamin C, and you can dab that right on the spot Don't forget your sun protection every day. Those spots will not go away as fast as you want them to if you're not protecting your skin from the sun. Nancy says, I found 3 unopened PC Slip into Silk body lotions. That is a blast from the past. Hidden away in a box in an armoire. Is it still okay to use them? Pulled the seal off of one, used it, changed, it seemed fine. Wow, Slip into Silk body lotion. First of all, I want you to try the replenishing body cream at some point. So promise me you'll give that a go when Slip into Silk is gone, because I honestly think you'll like it even better. Reason I know that is because a lot of us at the office were big fans of that product, which was discontinued some time ago. And we actually pulled up a bench. We had a lab sample of that probably from like 2004. And it was still in, I mean, there was a little bit of signs of separation, which isn't shocking given how long ago that was. But other than that, it smelled fine. It looked fine. It, still went on nicely. So we kind of used the old Slip into Silk as a little bit of a springboard for replenishing body cream. I say kind of because it was sort of like an inspiration in the beginning. And then the more we experimented with different submissions and looked at different benchmarks, we're like, no, we kind of want it to feel more like this. And this is more of a modern day body cream feel. And I love where we landed. So Nancy, if you're not noticing any separation, if you're not noticing any odor change, if it doesn't, if it's still going on smoothly, you're not seeing what's called agglomeration, which means you're spreading it on and it's kind of like, seeming almost like it's almost becoming a bit cottage cheese-like as opposed to just smoothing over the skin. That wouldn't be good. But if everything else seems okay, then yeah, and it's been sealed and it's been stored in an armoire. I'm thinking this armoire was not in a area where it was exposed to temperature extremes, like a storage locker that gets really hot in the summer and cold in the winter. That could affect the long-term stability. But if it was just something that was in your house, and you keep your house temperate, yeah, you should be good. I apologize for the noise. I'm going to close that door. Well, that helped a lot. I've got some guys here working on refinishing our dining room floor. I told them about this live chat. I said, you guys got to be either out of here or quiet when I'm doing this chat. So sorry about that. They are running a little behind. But they're super nice guys. Kristen says, what do you think of micellar waters? Would Paula's Choice consider making one? We don't have a micellar water in the works. We do have some interesting cleansers coming up in development, which I think you're going to find rather fascinating. But micellar waters, I don't have an issue with them if you like using them. I think there are some that are better than others. Some of them I've come across are really fragranced, and that bothers me if the directions, and this is the case for a lot of micellar waters, if the directions say you don't need to rinse. I don't like the idea of somebody taking off their makeup with a highly fragrant liquid like that and then just leaving it on the skin because of the irritation that can cause. But, Garnier makes some nice ones. Simple makes good micellar waters. You don't have to spend a lot on them. A lot of brands have jumped on the micellar bandwagon. The funny thing is that it really isn't. It seems like it's this all-new way to cleanse skin and remove makeup, but the technology, the micelle technology, has been around for a long time. It's no better, no worse than surfactant technology that's what's pretty standard for water-soluble cleansers. So if you are enjoying using micellar cleansers, if you find that they're working to remove your makeup, stick with it. I have no problem with that. Niece says, oh, Bryan, I'm a Vancouverite who hates Starbucks. LOL. All right. Turquoise Beauty says, hi, Bryan. Have you ever heard of vitamin C reacting with environment while wearing it and becoming a pro-oxidant and therefore damaging the skin? Thanks so much. I haven't. I know that vitamin C is an unstable ingredient if you're talking about just pure ascorbic acid. That's why it needs to be formulated carefully, packaged carefully. protected from light and air exposure. If you apply, let's say you're using a product like our C15 Super Booster, and you've had it for a while, don't really remember when you opened it, but it was probably a year ago, maybe longer, and you notice that it's turned brown, like rust brown in the bottle. That is a sign that the vitamin C has oxidized. In that case, if you were to put that type of a product on your skin, it wouldn't shock me if you got a pro-oxidant effect. But while that vitamin C is fresh, it's going to be antioxidant. And when you put it on your skin, it's going to work as an antioxidant, and then it will eventually cycle itself down. I mean, one of the kind of a visual, in a sense, of how antioxidants work is that you can almost think of them as like little kamikaze pilots, in that they go after the free radicals, they go after that unhinged molecule, and they join with it, and they say, aha, you can't go around attacking these other people anymore because I've got you captured. But as a result of capturing you, we both kind of disintegrate. So it's a bit of a suicide mission, but that antioxidant stops that rogue molecule before it can cause further harm to other parts of your skin. I mean, and the same thing goes on inside the body as well. The whole concept of antioxidant and oxidation, it's literally the circle of life, because we need oxygen to live. We can't breathe without it, and if you don't breathe, you die. But there's no denying that the oxygen that we need to live is also chipping away at our vitality over the years, which is why the body has a natural antioxidant defense system, and it's our job via lifestyle, nutrition, and all those other healthy choices we make. I so want chocolate cake right now, to keep that system humming along so that it can keep us healthy longer. Okay. Marielle says, I love PC exfoliants, and they work beautifully on my skin, but I've tried The Ordinary and Drunk Elephant high concentration AHA products, and they always make me break out. Well, that's sad. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't have an explanation as to why that would be. I think that both brands formulate good to great exfoliants, so it sounds to me, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love that our exfoliants aren't doing that for you, but I can't explain from any logical fashion, given that those brands pretty much avoid problematic ingredients that would trigger an allergic or sensitizing reaction, and neither one uses fragrance. I can't say off the top of my head from a logical standpoint why those are a problem, but ours are not. So we'll consider ourselves lucky, and you consider yourself lucky that you're still able to use exfoliants and reap those benefits. And then she has a follow-up. Does that mean I should not use such high concentrations? Not necessarily. There's nothing about a higher concentration of AHA or BHA that would be more likely to trigger breakouts, unless it's one of those purging type things where you had like this crop of clogged pores and breakouts brewing beneath the surface of skin, and using the higher concentration of the acid kind of shocked that all out at once. If you are keen to experiment, you could go, assuming you still have the exfoliants from those brands at home, you could go back to using one or both of them and see if ongoing use gets you over that hump. And if it does, then you could say, well, it was probably a purging event from the higher amount of the acids and not something about the total product itself. And then from there, you can decide which one you like from a texture standpoint, or alternate between 2 or 3 different brands, whatever you find works best. Okay, we got that one. Eric says some extractions by a facialist helps also. Not sure what that's in regard to, but yeah, in terms of blackheads and whatnot, if you find a talented facialist or esthetician who knows how to deal with that, that can make a big difference. Okay. SH says, can Paula's Choice ever make an SPF toner? I hate loading up on sunscreen before I work out, but I also don't want to drive to the gym without sun protection. Good idea. How could we do that and not I mean, yeah, we could certainly consider it. Sorry, I need to stop formulating in my head. One of the first things that comes to mind is that we could do that if we were more willing to use denatured alcohol, because so many sunscreen actives are nicely soluble in that, but we just don't want people spraying that on their face. And so let me think on that, Christine. It's not impossible. We do have some very lightweight liquid fluidish sunscreens. I don't know if you've experimented with those. I suspect maybe your aversion to putting on a traditional sunscreen before your workout is that you don't like how it feels when you start sweating. I get it. But like our Resist ultralight, there's a super light SPF 30. We have the SPF 50 in the Resist. I'm going to get you the exact, I cannot believe I'm blanking. I know it has fluid in the name. Youth Extending Daily Hydrating Fluid, SPF 50 in the light blue tube. You can take a look at that one and see if you like the feel of that. Sonia says, would you recommend The Ordinary products? Love you. Oh, thank you. I have mixed feelings about that brand. I really do. In some ways, I think they are these consumer champions, and then in some ways, I think what they're doing is incredibly disingenuous. This is strictly my opinion. I do think that they create some interesting products. I think my biggest pet peeve, if you want to call it that, is that they do so many products that are one note. You get a high concentration of one great ingredient, and maybe a couple of supporting ingredients that aren't all that exciting, but they're charging, for the most part, rock bottom prices. So I totally understand why a lot of people are like, you know what, I know I'm not getting a whole lot for my money, but the thing is, it's just not a lot of money, and I don't care, because I just want that ingredient. So I think one of the good things about The Ordinary, let me say this, is that a lot of what they offer that I would consider one note or just not robust enough, they can be interesting products to add to a more comprehensive routine. Including something from Paula's Choice, including something from Drunk Elephant, including something from any of the brands that the Lauder brands do it well for the most part if they just stopped using jars, that really give your skin a much more sophisticated array. And the funny thing is The Ordinary has some products like that too. The Buffet product comes to mind, but just not enough. And so you really... The funny thing is if you want to get the most out of The Ordinary, you need to start using one of their other lines, like Niod. What's there? Hylamide is not all that great. Probably the Niod line. But then you do that, you jump from The Ordinary to Niod, and you get into the price range that a lot of other brands are playing in. And I'm not saying that their prices are unwarranted, because the formulas certainly look to be much more sophisticated than what The Ordinary offers, but you're kind of just back to square one, I guess. AK, what are your thoughts on Sika Balm? There's a lot of those out there, like from Dr. Jart and other certain Korean brands. L'Oreal capitalized on it in one of their Revitalift products. The Sika ingredient is Centella asiatica, which is a nice, soothing, antioxidant-ish plant extract. It's fine. I don't think badly of that ingredient at all. But what I am seeing in several of the Sika products that I've looked at is that they, just like what I was saying about some of the Ordinary products, they tend to be more one note. I never like it when a brand is capitalizing on one single ingredient when skin needs so much more than that, with very few exceptions. Within the Paula's Choice line, we have our vitamin C spot treatment that I mentioned earlier, and that pretty much just gives you 25% ascorbic acid in a highly stabilized, non-aqueous silicone base. So you could look at that product and say, well, you're just giving me vitamin C. Very true. But we're giving you a very high amount of vitamin C in a very expensive waterless base that will absolutely give you results. So that's one exception where I could see somebody calling Paula's Choice out for that. But for everything else, even for our boosters, where we call out a certain percentage of a single superstar ingredient like retinol or niacinamide or hyaluronic acid, you're always getting other supporting ingredients that work with the star player to enhance its benefits and to further benefit your skin. That's the approach that I wish more Sika products and more products in general in the industry that focus on this plant extract, or that antioxidant, or this peptide would do. Aaron says, do physical sunscreens provide longer lasting protection from the sun than chemical sunscreens? From a science perspective, no. From a anecdotal perspective, I think they do. The research isn't really there to bear that out, but I'm basing my opinion on that on how those two types of actives work. The fact that mineral sunscreen actives tend to be more stable in the presence of sunlight, and because they work to they do absorb, the so-called chemical sunscreens work by absorbing UV light and converting it into harmless heat energy that then dissipates before it can damage your skin. The mineral sunscreens do that as well, but they also deflect. So we were talking about an invisible shield earlier, and does a layer of makeup protect from pollution? And no, it doesn't. But a layer of those mineral sunscreens is going to provide an invisible shield of sorts against the bombardment of UV rays. So they both absorb and reflect, whereas the chemical sunscreen ingredients, and let's just say synthetic, because all of the sunscreen ingredients are chemicals. Every ingredient in skincare, even the natural ones, even the organic ones, even the ones from brands that make their products in a barn, which just, to me, doesn't sound the least bit appealing or sanitary, but I digress. They're all chemicals. Everything's a chemical. Chemical isn't a bad word. There are good chemicals and bad chemicals. So yeah, that's there you have it. There isn't, I can't point you to a study saying, yes, that's true. And what, honestly, in terms of which one you prefer, and there's a lot of sunscreens that mix both, which is great. What matters most is that you're putting those active ingredients on your skin, the exposed areas of your skin every day. Just trust me on the difference that will make now and in the future. Laura says, hi, can you use sunscreen and an AHA together on the body? Absolutely. You put the AHA on first, put the sunscreen on top, and you're good to go. If you notice that that combination causes any stinging, because for some people, AHA body lotions can cause a little bit of temporary stinging. If you find that adding the sunscreen exacerbates that, I would maybe just do the AHA lotion at night and then your sunscreen during the day, or wait until the AHA lotion has absorbed completely and then put the sunscreen on. All right, I'm going to do a couple more questions because we are almost out of time. The hour went by so fast, you guys. Juliet says, I'm confused by the wide range of PC products. What would you recommend for someone in their early 40s to start on anti-aging? Juliet, I don't know if you noticed, but we recently launched a routine finder on our site. You can get to it right from the homepage. If you haven't tried that, it's a really cool feature that the team at Paula's Choice worked long and hard on. And that's not just corporate talk. That there was a lot of effort that went into that routine finder to really make it easier for you and for our other customers to hone in on the best products for them. I don't have enough information from your question to direct you. I have, you want anti-aging in your early 40s. I don't know how dry or how oily your skin is, what other concerns you may have, your level of sun damage, how much time you want to commit to a routine. You know, if 5 minutes morning and night sounds like way too much, that absolutely impacts what I would recommend to you versus you coming to me and saying, I will do whatever it takes. I don't care about the, I want the skincare routine to be my time, and if it takes 10 minutes, that's fine. But I'm sorry, I don't mean that to sound like I'm blowing you off at all. Definitely check out the routine finder if that doesn't narrow it down enough for you, because I'm thinking you'll be in resist and maybe some clinical and maybe a booster to augment things. But call our client services team, or you can also set up a personal consultation with one of them, which is like 45 minutes long. It's very in-depth. It's free. Last I knew, I don't think we're charging for this. If we do charge for it, tell them that Bryan said that it's on him. My treat. And but yeah, we have a wonderful client services team that can walk you through it, help you demystify if the resources that we have on the site aren't enough for you, and they may not be. So we're here for you. Give us a call. Okay, let's take two more. Oh, Jessica says, whenever I use a product with niacinamide, I get little white bumps near my eye area. What can I do about that? I'm not. That made me think of that joke with the patient and the doctor, where the patient says, "Hey, doc, whenever I do this, my arm really hurts. What should I do?" And the doctor's like, "Don't do that." So that's my answer to you, Jessica. I don't know why niacinamide is causing that type of reaction for you, but my advice would be don't put niacinamide around your eyes. There are other ingredients you can consider. I'm not quite sure what your skincare goal is in terms of putting niacinamide around the eyes, but try a product with ceramides, try a product with retinol, try a vitamin C type product. There's lots of bioactive type anti-aging ingredients that can work great around the eyes, so don't feel like you are missing out by not being able to put niacinamide in that area. Okay. Oh, we've got some from way down here. Guys, I might have to start making these chats like an all-day event. Dave says, I see The Ordinary is more of a booster line than products to be used on their own. Well said, Dave. That is very well said. It really is more of like a salad bar type line where you can... I mean, because if you look at what The Ordinary doesn't have, they still don't have sunscreens. I know they're working on them. They still don't have any cleansers as far as I know. I don't think they have any eye area specific products. There's holes in there, but then they're also filling some holes that other brands don't, which allows you to cocktail, and that's kind of cool. Oh, Juliet chimed back in. Okay, we'll wrap up here. She says she has normal to dry skin. I can commit to any amount of time. Would you suggest one booster and one treatment on top of a basic skincare package of wash, toner, moisturizer? I could buy them all. I would only suggest a booster or a treatment if I felt that you needed that. So I never want to overwhelm people with too many products. I would almost rather, Juliet, that you get started with a core routine, cleanser, toner, an exfoliant, which our routines contain. And if you haven't used that type of a leave-on exfoliant before, you're going to be really amazed at the results you get, because the first time is always just like, wow, this is really nice. I would consider a serum, but if you wanted to go for more of the what we call an essential routine, that would be cleanser, exfoliant, daytime moisturizer with sunscreen. That's critical. Don't leave that out. And then a nighttime moisturizer. And then maybe consider our Resist Anti-Aging Eye Cream, or if you prefer an eye gel. I like them both. It's really texture preference, and I find that the gel is very refreshing for use in the morning. If you're like, okay, I'll do that essential routine, and then I want to try a booster because I just think the concept of boosters is really cool. I think our best all-purpose booster is either going to be the Resist Vitamin C Super Booster, just because vitamin C is so multi-benefit, or I would say, particularly if you're on the drier side and you want some hydration boosting, the Resist Hyaluronic Acid Booster. So maybe start with one of those two. Use that collection of products for a while, and then you can come back to me during a live chat or go to our client services team and say, okay, here's what I'm liking about my routine. Here's what I feel is working. Here's where I feel I still need a bit of help. Do I need to switch something out, or do I need to add to my routine to get me to where I want to be? Because we could go either way. And Paula's Choice is not one of those skincare companies that's just going to try to ply you with more product until you've got 50 of them on your bathroom counter and you have no idea what the hell you're doing. We don't want that to happen. And we do have a lot of products for different skin types, different needs, different texture preferences. So I'm excited to have you try them, though. And to all of you who are still hanging with me, thank you. Thank you for watching. I know I've said this before. I really enjoy this time with you guys, this interaction. I love that I keep seeing a lot of the same names popping up, and that you guys are, keeping me on my toes with different and interesting questions, as well as your own comments. This, I know this isn't a dialogue in the sense that I can hear you talking, but and thank you for letting me know you can hear me. But I will be back next month, taking tomorrow off, a long weekend with the family. So everyone, have a good holiday weekend for those who celebrate Easter. And for those who don't, enjoy your weekend. I hope you're seeing some nice springish weather wherever you are. And I will talk with you in the near future. Take care.